Hey everyone, I spent 15 years in one career and then I quit. And when I quit, these were some of the questions that haunted me. Did I just ruin my life? Am I completely starting over? Did I just waste the last 15 years? What am I going to do? What am I good at? Who am I? All of these things came to me because my identity was wrapped in what I was doing for the last 15 years. And I wondered, if I changed careers, who am I? And I had to go on a journey. For the last 15 years, I was helping people find meaning, transform their lives, build community, and make an impact in the world. The place that I was doing that was the church, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I love that, and I love being a part of that. But I knew at that point it was changing. My wife and I realized we wanted a different style of life. We wanted something that would build certain things that we knew weren't capable to be built where we were. So we realized in order for us to have the life we're dreaming of, we have to change some things. And one of the things was career, and the other thing was location. So we moved ourselves across the country with our 3 kids, and we started over. We rebuilt our life. We reimagined what it looked like, and we started to think through, if we were rebranding our life, what would it be right now? And I had to do some work. I had to look at myself in ways that I hadn't had the time, the space, and frankly, the opportunity to look at myself and ask. I got rushed into some things in the past, and in rushing into certain opportunities, I never really got to know other parts of who I am. And this season of life where I decided to end that career and go towards a different direction required doing this kind of work, this deep, deep work. And 15 years is a long time. So how do you do it? Where do you begin? Well, let me dive into 7 things I think that you could ask yourself, or that I even asked myself, to help me navigate reinventing my life, rethinking who am I, rebranding, if you will, my life. And the first one was get brutally honest. Get brutally honest about what worked and what didn't. This is taking off the rose-colored lenses about your life, getting out of this overly optimistic, and also not being afraid to say what didn't work and what did work, and getting critical where you need to get critical, not criticism about who you are as a person. You weren't a failure, but you have to look at things and say, what was working and what didn't? Because sometimes when you're in that thing for so long, you never get an opportunity to look out and get a little meta, if you will, and say, what's working and not working about this for me? And get really honest about that. And then getting honest and finding out, what are your strengths? What are the things about you that are uniquely yours? I remember I asked a group of friends, I sent them a text message, and I said, hey, what is it about me that makes me a good friend? Someone that you would show up for, someone that you feel is worth something to you and matters to you in your life. I don't want just the generic, simple, like, because you're great X, Y, or Z, or you're just really kind, you're awesome, I love you. I want to know the reasons. And I got vulnerable and I cried when I read their responses. I just cried and cried because it was showing me to me. I was too close. Like, we're all too close to our life. So we need these kind of perspectives outside of ourselves to look at our own life. And so I asked these 5 friends for that information. I took that information. I started to do more work. I looked at what drained me, what held me back, what no longer served me, what paradigms did I need to change about myself. I needed to unlearn some things. So list out things you're like, these mindsets cannot go with me. No sugarcoating here. You've got to realize, where were you losing your own ambition, your own dreams, because your career was kind of focused in such a way that there was only one really goal or one objective, and that goal and objective is no longer driving you because you've changed careers, you've ended it. So you've got to find out, what is it about you that drives you? What are the things that make you tick? What are the things that get you out of the bed in the morning? And this is foundational. This is finding out your own personal why, like what drives you and what is pulling you. And you got to get honest. You can't write stuff that sounds good, that even your old career probably has you wordsmithing things so that you could stay in a place of influence and importance. Because if you didn't say it this way or that way, were you still going to have the role you had? And you've got to change that. You've got to get honest. You got to be who you are today. So at 35, I started to do all of this. I started to relook at my life and ask myself these questions. And so the next question I asked was, I looked at was clarifying what I actually enjoy and value. What gives energy and what excites me? Again, this isn't about what's going to advance your career, because you're no longer in that career. You're trying to learn you. What excites you? What really brings you life? What lights you up? In the book, The Artist's Way, you can take it. My wife had done it. And right before we had made this large move and move our family across the country, she had read it and it transformed her life. And then she said, hey, you need to read this. I read it. It impacted my life. I didn't finish it all the way through, confessions, but I read so much of it, and I still resonate with so much of it. And she asks these questions about these alternate lives you would live. And that comes from what you love, what brings you life, what brings you excitement. Sometimes some of us get thrusted into responsibility so fast, we never get to understand who we are and what excites us because we're trying to stay responsible to what we were thrusted into, what we got pushed into really early. And so what do you value for work and life? What are you thinking is the thing that moves for you? Is it impact in the world? Is it being able to creatively express yourself? Is it thinking you need autonomy? Finding out what do you actually value and what do you not want to carry with you? What are some of the things that drove you before that you don't want to carry with you? So I would say after those 15 years, one of the things I didn't want to carry with me was being responsible for people, to lead people, to help people directly, because I was doing it so much. I wanted to work on something. I wanted to put my hands to something, and I didn't want it to be putting my hands to human lives. I didn't, in developing them and caring for them. That came later on because it's a part of who I was, but I knew that in this next step, I needed to let that go. So leadership of people needed to be let go as a responsibility. I was not going to try to lead a team right away. I was not going to try and go figure that. I wanted to take some time away from that, so that I knew that that was something that couldn't go with me immediately. Later on, it's resurfaced, but we'll get there. So what I would say is test, fail, and adjust. Test, fail, and adjust. This is a big experiment. You've got to find out what worked, what didn't work, try new paths, get yourself out of things and try all kinds of new experience, go to different places, try new foods, stay curious and adaptable. This led me down a path where I ended up taking a job for about 6 or 7 months. And then I quit because I realized it wasn't the right thing for me. They weren't getting the best out of me and I wasn't getting the best experience for myself. And I knew this wasn't just working the right way. So I had to adapt. I had to change. And so from ending that career to where I am now, which I'm loving what I'm doing right now, we'll get to how that got there. But I had to try something and go, this wasn't right. This wasn't right. And I will say this is a part that a lot of people kind of overlook. And I forgot even in mentioning this in the test, fail, and adjust. And part of what you need to go into the next season, if finances are what you need, go get those in order. Figure out what you need to do. If you need to save a certain amount of money before you quit your job, then do that. I'm not saying quit your job and be irresponsible, but I am saying you've got to look at what's important. So just a little caveat there. I know people are going to go crazy on the comments about healthcare, about needing. I get you need to be responsible for your family. I'm not telling you to be irresponsible, but if you're trying to rethink your life, this may not even mean you change your career. This might mean that you literally start to take on all these new hobbies like photography or something like that. I don't know, but you can't stay where you were. If you're feeling that way, then this is for you. If you want to stay where you are and you don't want to take a risk, that's fine. You've weighed it. You've realized you're not ready for a risk. So don't do this. Go watch another video. But if you are looking at it and you've risked or you are watching this and you are thinking, I want to take that risk, then continue with me. The next thing I would say is leverage your skills and experiences that you already have. What can I build on? In my case, I started to build on my ability to do design and creativity. I started to look at my ability to think strategically. And I eventually got back to the idea of I know leadership really, really well and I can lead really well. And so, but before that, it was about going, all right, I want something that's going to pull on my creativity, something that's going to pull on that strategy part of who I am. These strengths are deep in me and I can blend those two. So whether it was actually doing design work and eventually it got to a spot where doing brand work, which I've been doing for over a decade. I remember my first design project where my dad gave me a stolen copy of Photoshop, but that was a part of who I was for a really long time. But I had to leverage those skills. How can I reposition myself? What are things about me that I can take these skills and go, in this world, they looked like this, but in this world, they can look like that. Finding out what your skill set can look like in other environments and seeing if you can reposition yourself in that way and start thinking about your life a little differently. Next one would be focus on small wins and momentum, not overnight. This is not an overnight process. As we already said about test, fail, and adjust, you have to take it one step at a time. You're going to have setbacks and you're going to have moments where you feel like you've absolutely made the wrong choice. The amount of times that I had to initially go, did I mess this all up? Did I get this wrong? But I had to trust that this was the right path for me, that reinventing my life was going to lead to the kind of life I really, really wanted and the kind of impact I wanted to make in the world. So I have to tell you, you have to take it one step at a time. And it's not overnight, and it's one connection, one conversation, and that builds momentum, okay? And that each step that goes well builds a little bit more confidence that you're on the right path. And ultimately, it will create this deep well of confidence inside of yourself. But at the beginning, it's one step at a time. Days you feel insecure, days you feel like you've made the wrong choice, days you feel like you're taking steps backwards. But you have to understand, sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 2 steps backwards, 1 step forward, then it's 5 steps forward, 10 steps, and then you're leaping. But it takes time. So focus on small wins and build momentum. Then after that, I would say surround yourself with the right people. Community is an important part of life, but I think so many times we forget how to find the right kind of mentors or people who can and peers who are aligned with where you're trying to go, that aren't just friends. I think friends are critical and we all need good friends, but also we need people who can guide us into new ways of life. I wanted to go find really successful entrepreneurs. I wanted to get around people who had done this well and are still doing it well, to learn a new path, a new career in entrepreneurship, and find out how do they do it and learn how they thought, have them challenge me in ways I thought about things, and focus on ways I could grow based off of my conversations with them. So I had to find the community that aligned with where I wanted to go. And I had to let go of ways of doing community that in the past would have served me, but don't serve me right now. So instead of building large networks of friends, I had to tighten things up and start to really kind of spend time developing me. And then over time, expand that more and more into new relationships. But I really focused on some mentors, some people who would help me see differently about life and about adapting a new career in business and entrepreneurship. The next one would be, and this is the last one here, I would stay patient and committed. Stay patient and committed. This is not a straight line. This is it goes up, down, all around. Some days you're going to feel absolutely, like I said before, like you did it wrong, you failed, but you have to remember, you have to stay patient. Patient is this unwavering loyalty to some sense of a future that you are trusting is coming your way. And so you have to be patient. You have to see that future you're trying to create and know that every day you are breathing, you're moving towards that future. It may not be in a straight line, but you're moving towards that. And so I was ready after doing a lot of these steps, I was ready to start to look at careers that were in the creative space, that were had design elements in it, because I had done graphic design for a really long time as well. And I had been doing brand side projects for, as side hustles for a decade. And I realized I'm going to spend time doing that. I want to dive into that more. And as I dived into that more, opportunities to bring my strategic strength, my leadership strength, all started to rise more and more. End up finding a path towards a career where I'm now running and starting a branding agency. And the brand strategy work we're doing for Anatomy of a Brand is amazing stuff. You can even go to that YouTube channel now and watch Anatomy of a Brand. It's full of interviews we're doing with great leaders. We're doing these documentary style film stuff where we're showing brands in real life. And we're working with brands on strategy, on visual identity, on web experiences, all the things I learned about rallying people towards something, learning how to grow things with heart and soul and not lose who you are, how to have purpose at the center of something. I took those things and I started applying them to brand work because I realized the world was being shaped by brand. And if I wanted to make an impact on the world, which was a value of mine, I wanted to do it in that space. I felt like that could work. I'm not the most creative person in the world, but I can take all the different elements and make those work together in a way that can actually help companies grow in how they show up in the world, how their brand is experienced, how they look, how they talk, and ultimately how they draw in the right people to their movement. So I had to think through a lot of these steps, and that's where I ended up. So I didn't just quit a job. I pivoted my life. And in these steps, I saw so much fruit, both economically, I saw fruit in growth and income, but I also saw fruit in confidence in myself and who I am and knowing of myself, which directly impacted me and my wife's relationship and my relationship with my kids. So now we're to this unit that reinvented our lives, and we're seeing the fruit of that in our own life, changing and changing and changing, and seeing the kind of evidence of this stuff. So if this is the kind of thing that you enjoy and it stirred you, I want to encourage you to subscribe. subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be posting a lot more of these style of videos, and I want you to enjoy them if you're in this kind of frame of mind, if you think like this. And then I would love to hear from you. What is a step that you've taken in your own journey to help you know yourself better so that you can make those career choices that led to the goals you have for your life, whatever they may be. And maybe it's not even economic. Maybe it's not income. Maybe it's impact. Maybe it's influence. I don't know what it is for you, but what steps you took, I'd love to hear what they are in the comments. So let me know what you took on your own journey towards reinvention and rebranding yourself.